surplus, and then also our revenues have projected always coming in a little bit higher, on average about 0.5% higher than what we anticipate in our revenue budget.
We're always hopeful that we would end the year with a budget surplus. However, in adding up the 5 years in our projection model, it came to a total additional surplus of less than $1 million. I think it was about $700,000. So that's why I didn't.
Is that assuming that we draw down on our contingency each budget year?
No, there is no contingency in the projection models except for this current year budget.
Okay.
So historically, where has the surplus been at the end of the year? Historically, you've had some surplus?
No, we have.
And how much historically in general?
You know, it varies year to year. It depends on how things go. But you know, last year it was $9 million. That was high.
And the year before it was $6 million, right?
That sounds about right.
So what makes the future model then different from the historical? So the future doesn't have. So the future has a lower level of surplus.
Historically, our operating levy has been increasing at over 2%, and the last couple of years we're significantly under 2%.
But that's the recent years where it's been under. We get $9 and $6 million surpluses, so we get historically high surpluses, even though we have a low.
Well, we're reaching the level where our expenses are growing at a greater rate than our revenues are growing at.
And this projects no cut in expenses, just expense
That
growth.
is correct.
So this has no accommodation for the board reacting to.
It does have some. I think we
do have budget reductions, which have been the budget reductions that we have discussed in the past. For the current year, we identified 1.6 million in budget reductions, and each subsequent year we have another 300,000, which have been built into the projections. And beyond that, we continue to look and identify and have additional items that we are mapping as far as what would be the timeline in which those would be feasible to be implemented.
Do we have any other input on the recommendation before we go back to committee? Because I'm not necessarily convinced that this recommendation is the best option for our community with regard to just recently Social Security is flat. They made that announcement today. They're making absolutely no increase for cost of living adjustment to our seniors. And they are probably most likely to not file an appeal, not go through the process of finding 3 similar properties, getting online, and then going back to the tax appeal board for those exemptions. And a lot of them, now that they have to renew their senior exemptions every year, they have a harder and harder time. Just from my perspective and historically seeing our surpluses and then averaging out our last 5 years and kind of where we're at, I think that we could do more. We could fully abate and go towards that second scenario that was presented. I don't know how the rest of the board feels, but I'm interested in discussing it.
Well, I think at the next Budget and Finance Committee, if we're going more in depth into those scenarios, that will be one of them. At this time, I'm open to listening as far as it's a recommendation to the board for discussion, and we're clearly not voting on it until December. So as far as discussion goes, I don't think it's limited.
I guess I'm just wondering, suggesting then maybe you look at those surpluses and factor that into the scenarios and see how that develops?
Well, the second scenario that has a reduction is a one-time abatement that would not impact the operating extension that we're doing. So it wouldn't have that compounding effect that we were discussing. It would just basically be a pull of approximately $1.5 additional million out of our fund balance into that abatement. It would be sort of like a one-time dip there, maximizing our opportunity to provide relief without necessarily impacting our baseline forward. And again, that 1.5 is still less than what we were planning on for contingency and surplus, so it almost feels like a wash there, at least from my perspective.
Could you share again with me the rationale? I know you told us once, but if you could reiterate why you chose the less abatement versus more abatement for your recommendation. I would like to hear a little bit more clarification on that, if you don't mind.
Sure. The $2 million abatement scenario that was recommended tonight allows the board to approve a levy that would have a flat increase. It is a 0% increase. What it does is it does allow a protection of a portion of the fund balance going forward that would be allowable for use in other ways for future abatement. Some of those categories that were in the top of the reserve chart, if you will. It allows for some various, a few different strategies going forward with the debt abatement for the future for the 2016 year levy. So the combination of those items, given that we do not know what's going to occur legislatively, especially and with CPI for next year, felt that it allows really the best protection of a portion of the reserves while also still being able to issue a flat levy scenario.
So moving forward, it allows for flexibility for choices down the road if things look different, if there's other unexpected things that come aboard. It gives us at least another year to have additional flexibility. Is that the main difference?
That would be.
Thank you.
And the amount we're talking about protecting is 1% of that fund balance, correct? 1.3 over 134, so we're talking about percent.
I think what it does is it highlights the value of the average of $3.5 million that this district has abated for every one of the last, how many years is it? 8 years. So for the last 8 years, we've been able to and made the decisions to abate $3.5 million as opposed to simply 2 on an average. And I think that it really is helpful to highlight that for us.
And I agree. And it's interesting though when you have a surplus of $6 or $9 million and you're abating a third of that surplus. So from my perspective, we're putting more into that fund balance that we're taking from the taxpayer that we're not really utilizing. And I think that if we have an opportunity to maximize that, we should.
Sure. The fund balance diminishment that we've seen is one that I think has brought the levels down to a level that this board is going to have to strongly consider relative to whether the quality programming that you were able to see as a result tonight would begin to be impacted. The reductions that we have created and devised and proposed into our scenarios this year with basically a 0 balance on our budget projected is one that we were able to produce as a result of reducing $1.5 million. Each of the next years has reductions after that. If the remaining balance sinks below that line with current no budget having been passed in the state, with likely some sort of local charges coming back here potentially with pension, with any pending litigation that could occur, any property tax freeze, and any potential change in the school funding formula, that is something this board would have to reconcile. And the amount of accrued reserve over a minimum reserve by board policy requirement, that's where we get concerned. And if the suggestion of this board is to do that, what I would share with you is that's not our recommendation. Our recommendation is to safeguard and to prudently budget as we have, and to bring in a 0 levy. This is all assuming that the property tax bills that we just heard about are going to remain flat. That while it is a reduction, and we have provided reductions and tax relief, direct tax relief for 8 years in a row, from District 211. That's the catch that happens. We hold ours flat, we reduce our balance and no reserves, we compromise programming, and what is left is that the property tax bills may still rise.
again, from what I'm, just to reiterate what you're saying, Dr. Cates, is that there are a lot of unknown variables out there, but we do know that our seniors are not going to see an increase in their Social Security. So we have to balance that known fact in our community against a lot of these unknowns that the legislature may have with providing funding, passing a state budget, and things of that nature, and looking at 86.5% of our revenue coming from baby boomers, that has a significant impact on them versus the 2 to 6% that we may see from the state. So I do agree that there is some state legislature and budgeting that's going on, but when we look at the largest chunk of our revenue and who that impacts, I think we really have to take a serious look at what we're doing with that.
I think we have taken a serious look at it. If there's any additional looks you would like us to take, we have shined a bright light. We've been comprehensive in that and shared information that I hope would be helpful here for people. If there's any more information, again, we bring to you the recommendation that we believe.
I think it would be helpful to get maybe that projected surplus and contingency that is built into those future 5-year budgets, and to see what kind of cushion we're working with. Because again, looking at what we just had approved on our last budget with 1.3 million in contingency and 400,000 in surplus, and then seeing how that cushion reduces and what we would be expected to have for tolerance in what we're working with.
Thank you. Actually, I kind of shifting gears a little bit. On all the scenarios, all 8, including these 2 tonight, it does show that we hit red, right? And so we talked about budget and reductions and things like that. Would it be possible maybe at our next budget and finance committee, if people are interested, in seeing what some of those reductions look like? I know we've seen some, but in particular, I'm curious about what programs, if it's going to get to that level, what kind of opportunities for our students. Are those the types of things we're speaking of, or are we playing, which ways those are going to look, I guess, is what I'm asking. Outside of, graphs and charts, like what kind of effect does it have within our buildings?
Sure. Sure.
No one else.
Well, I think, possibly going along with that, we may have to then explore what type of things, can be cut or reduced without impacting, the students in the actual classroom. Then we're getting more into, the actual budget type of thing.
I don't know if that's a question.
Just kind of a comment. Because I guess I'm concerned about taking a look at, we're saying we're going to cut things, but I think it's too early for that type of a discussion. I think if you're going to do that, you've got to balance it where, what are you looking to cut? That's going to impact the kids, but what else can we do that will have an impact on the budget that doesn't affect the kids directly? It's just a comment, it's not a...
Yes, what I will say to you is that we have made reductions in efficiencies, and it is at the point where any further reductions, and as Mrs. Burke points out, those 4th and 5th years out, even in the best scenarios, show an annual deficit. That's either paid through our existing reserves, or that is a direct impact. Those kinds of numbers definitely will impact to our students. This is a board who has conscientiously not raised fees in many, many years. And unlike any local school district, we are at the bottom, and we have not raised it in many, many years. So in addition to revenue sources, in addition to reductions, all of those have been done in ways that safeguard the students and the families who are in need, struggling sending their students here. You may not see it on a particular tax bill in this year. With our recommendation, there would be no increase from District 211. We have not, for many years, increased student fees.
I think that's wonderful, and I think that's, the course that we need to kind of be able to continue to take. I know that, well, in a couple of years, we'll be looking at, negotiating a new contract, which, will also have an impact on these numbers.
Yes.
Yeah.
I just want to clarify, I was looking for kind of a big picture. I didn't need to drill down personally. I was just looking, we're talking so much surplus and extras. I just want to see, I'm struggling a little bit with extras and red lines. So I'm trying to see what they look like on the other side, on the human side, not just on the financial side, on the people side.
Right, and that too, again, I agree with the fees and what Dr. Cates is saying, what President Burke here is saying, but I also think that there's a voice that doesn't have a numbers advocate in our seniors living in the community that are basically, in my opinion, subsidizing the low fees for athletics and things like that. I mean, we may help families that send their kids here that are struggling to pay for the extracurricular activities, but we're also doing a service to the people that have built this community, and basically we're here when these buildings were put up, and they continue to support it into their twilight years, and those are the people that I think we also have to consider and balance. And you know, again, back to Representative Musman's point is that there are voices in the community reaching out, looking for help in just making ends meet, and they're the people that probably need the most relief, as they're not getting a cost of living increase in Social Security.
Sure. I just want to ask a question. So,
And you're done.
But if you do something for a short period of time, in the future it's showing you red. There isn't a projection that we have that is all black. It is telling you you're already unsustainable.
Maybe you should have thought about
Something
that.
that people look for in their lives is stability. And it's taken for granted when things are stable. But there is nothing that you will regret more when the stability goes away. And a message you've received many years in a row was the administration has tried to put the board always in a position of having options. The options are very quickly going away. And the red is the clearest indication of that. Do whatever you want this year.
Overspending.
The taxpayers will feel a bounce in their tax bill. It will happen. It can't keep the same, and it can't keep declining. People aren't getting a cost of living increase. Neither is the district. But at a certain point in time also, it's not the school district that's responsible for absolutely every financial thing for everybody.
Nobody said it was.
We're a big portion of the property tax bill. But the people that you educate today are going to be those people in the future.
In Indiana.
Yeah, I have to disagree with what you said about not getting a cost of living increase, but that is what our consumer price index of 0.8% is. And nobody's talking about not extending